Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to WCS Winter. We got another StarCraft match headed your way in just a little bit's time. My name is Fear Dragon. I am here with Nathanius. Nathanius, it is time to talk about that war chest. And you know what today's war chest skin is? Today's war chest skin is going to be that Special Forces barracks skin.
Is it though?
It's pretty beautiful, man. I think the only thing that I could possibly want more is that we actually had a barracks with an actual bear skin draped over it, because then it'd actually be a bear rack. A literal bear racks. But this is a really good skin.
And I want to be able to build Chris Hemsworths out of my factory, but we all can't get what we want, Fear Dragon.
I don't get it.
It's okay.
Because he dishes out the facts?
No, In Control would have gotten it.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, we got our winners match coming up here. Very exciting. Get to cast some TVP. Cast some TVP.
Cast some TVP. You know, I think he was actually maybe casting a couple of matches last week, because we saw him as an observer.
Yeah.
I remember In Control mentioning him as one of the observers that was doing some broadcasting.
One of the best parts about WCS Winter, by the way, is we have so many partners with so many people, multiple language broadcasts. I know that the O Gaming guys have been in here, been getting broadcasts on Take TV as well. So it's really awesome that we have a show that not only is regular but is also accessible to everybody. Although those of you who speak English, you're in here with me. Welcome. Hi. Sorry.
We also speak in memes here. This is going to be a fun match, though. GunGFuBanDa already getting a really good result versus Nurture, who wasn't necessarily looking the best today. But still, GunGFuBanDa was playing really, really well. And Koss also playing exceptionally well today. I was more, I would say, impressed with Koss's performance so far.
Yeah. Oh, no, he looked really good. I mean, his use of his units and his composition were really nice. Yeah,
Aaron have an answer to a Protoss.
I like seeing it. Well, I think Koss is exactly the type of player that can take matches, especially when people are like, how do we crack this code that is TVP? And Koss with a little bit more of a technical approach. Love the use of Ravens, by the way. The Dorito cannon is amazing versus Toss if you can use it properly. Some of them, sometimes the abilities feel a little bit all or nothing, but, you know, not everyone can actually just lose TVP every single game. It doesn't happen. I hate to break it to you.
The win rates have dropped down to 0%.
It is not literally 0%. So.
All right, guys. We're going to be starting up here in the top left-hand corner of the map. Top of the red Darren player. He is Papa Koss. At the ripe old age of 30.
Nice. And in the bottom right position, his opponent, our blue Protoss player, rocking them Purifier skins. He is GunGFuBanDa.
Here to purify this map of the Terran presence, and once again send in those probes around in kind of weird angles. But this is two probes.
It's the second gateway build. It's got to be. So this is an extremely popular cheese versus Terran right now.
Yeah.
If you go for a Reaper Expand, it is so easy. To die to this. This build right here is exactly, I'm going to say it right now, everyone in Twitch chat's probably going berserk. This is exactly the type of build that specifically got buffed a lot by this Warp Gate buff, because the follow-up hits 14 seconds faster if the Protoss commits. Now, they won't always commit, but the double gateway build is really, really strong. It's very difficult to hold, and if the Terran player does not sniff it out, bad things can happen. Very important that the SCV scout goes out, though, because he knows the Protoss is on one base. So this is really nice. He can build the command center in his main. He can put a bunker by the ramp, and the Protoss can do a soft contain, but this is nowhere near as bad as it would have been if you're just like, oh, I'm going to build a Reaper and not send out an SCV. What happens is your Reaper goes into the Protoss base. By the time it gets there, the Zealot is already killing your command center, building SCV. Then the Stalker shows up. Then the other Stalker comes out of the main. Everything snowballs into a catastrophic failure. And then you go make a salty post on Reddit. But that's not the case this game. You know why? Because Koss SCV scouts.
Boom.
Not enough players do, Fear Dragon.
SCV going to get finally taken out. Doesn't decide to go for any kind of engineering bay blocks or anything, since he's investing in that bunker. That's an extra few resources back at home. He has to save on up. His first Stalker is being chrono boosted out, and we don't actually see a second Stalker coming out immediately, nor do we see one on the other side of the map. GunGFuBanDa already kind of knows that the reaction
And he knows
has
the
been
command
baited.
center's in the main. He saw the command center building in the main base, and he also knows that Koss scouted him because he killed the SV in his base. So he's thinking to himself, there's no reason here to really commit to this big push. And this is one of the reasons why Koss is here in this winners match. It's just smart, really. You should be SCV scouting versus Protoss, especially in this metagame where this 2-gate build is extremely popular. And you don't send the SCV everywhere. You check 1 or 2 spots on your way to their base. So, because the missing nexus is the biggest indicator that something's going down. And most of the time, it's these days going to be that proxy second gateway. Proxy robotics facility is more popular now with the warp gate boost and the buff to the cost of the robo facility.
Yeah, we've been seeing a good bit of that. But Twilight Council is coming down here for GunGFuBanDa on the other side, kind of back in his own base. Wouldn't be surprised to see Blink coming out just because it is such a standard, normal thing to get in
It's so
PvZs,
easy to pick up. It's so easy to pick up in these builds as well. So Blink, then maybe throw down the robotics facility, get observers, and just play this out normally.
Sentry looking around for something, maybe anticipating that there's a chance there could be like a proxy starport or something. Not going to find anything, as there is actually nothing to find. And his Hallucinating Phoenix will be able to make its way into the main base. There's really only these 2 Marines and the Marines inside the bunker, so not going to be a whole lot to actually stop this scout from coming in.
This is
the Widow Mines.
Yeah, this is the hard part of playing this style too. So as a Terran player, this is where a lot of the frustration comes from, is you do all of this, you don't take damage from the second gateway build, but the Protoss expands behind it. He's ahead on workers, GunGFuBanDa is ahead on the worker count, and he's actually mining off of that now fully saturated natural expansion when it comes to the mineral line. So this command center's got to fly over. He's going to have to transfer SCVs down. It's not a huge thing, but it's a little significant chunk of time where the Protoss income is going to be significantly ahead of where the Terran is. He's getting almost an extra 800 or 900 minerals a minute over the last 2 or so minutes in this game.
Yeah, mostly for the worker transfer and stuff.
Yeah, the
mules make up the difference.
Now that he moves down and takes the base, but I'm just saying, you can see from that graph, there is a brief period of time where having to make that transfer and move the command center is...
oh yeah, absolutely.
I like going into what about this matchup drives people crazy, and I feel like the income early on is always the biggest thing.
Ooh,
but this mine drop,
despite
that early blink, not able to catch the medevac, kind of keeping him in a more safe
mine
spot, but getting 3 of probes for that 1 mine.
And this medevac is kind of trapped now, and with Blink, he can fire off 1 shot to get the... Oh, he's going to try and get the medevac to move with hold position.
Use hold position, then it won't move from attacks. That's really nice.
Good reaction there from Koss. Not going to be losing that without any kind of repercussions. Observer also on the way here, so GunGFuBanDa kind of getting ready for the eventual Widow Mine games, and also just keep an eye on his opponent. But additional medevacs coming out. We got reactor Widow Mines coming out as well. So Koss getting up into that good old biomine play.
He's got a pretty hardy force for this early in the game, and the double forge is starting. So this is the part of the game where the Protoss player is going to try to push back the Terran move out. And you know what? He's going to run into this gateway. I think those Stalkers are going to go straight into the main.
Yep.
Stim is still researching. He could theoretically get it. He's going to go for the Stim tech lab. Oh my goodness.
How did he know?
Finishing the upgrade. So close. He denies Stim.
He's going to be able to get combat shields too. Oh my god. This is horrible for Koss.
We were talking about reasons why Terran players really hate this patch.
So the Stalkers also are going to be able to get home safely. Koss, this is not a large enough force to easily push in.
Well, no, the Stalkers can just attack this and just blink micro against this all day now that there's no upgrades for the Terran. He should be able to get the 3rd denial, though, if he just holds his ground, which is still nice. That's still a great pickoff. Yeah, Stalker's a little bit slow to get over there, so the 3rd base pickoff is really, really big. Because the big problem with not having Stim finish up is that the Terran player has this large period of time where they can't actually be aggressive, but be able to shut down a little bit of that Protoss greed. I think the reason why that attack still worked for Koss is because the Stalkers had to be recalled. So he knows that the Stalkers went home, and they're not waiting to jump back into his base. Oh my god, I'm looking at this medevac with 4 mines in it, Fear Dragon, and I can already see these Stalkers running into it. Oh my god.
Oh no, that's a dead medevac. Boom.
Ouch. My bones. He has a huge bio army. Koss's macro has definitely never been his weakness. He has he has a very large force. His biggest problem, of course, is that expensive, long researching upgrade. Also love seeing Terrans build mines, by the way. I think mines are great. I like them a lot more than tanks if you can get away with them in first Protoss.
Uh-oh, though. Koss out of position right now. The Stalker's going to be able to maybe poke up that ramp, get a little bit of damage done, and blink on out of here. Even just a few SCV pick also would be nice. Ooh,
wow.
Uses the blink early to snipe off a Viking.
No, he knows there's no stims. He just doesn't care.
Oh, yeah.
He's like,
about
all right,
that.
I'm going to recall.
Oh,
Au revoir.
Loses one Stalker, but kills off a couple of workers, kills off a Viking, and keeps the entire Terran force at home.
Stim takes so long to read. How far are we for anything happening in this
game?
It
is.
It's like 30 or 40 more.
Combat shield's finally finished, at least.
So basically, Koss has been kind of stuck, but he's gonna move out now. He's like, all right, this push will line up with Stim. I don't think a bunch of Stalkers are about to blink into my base and kill everything.
Yeah. Nice job, by the way, from GunGFuBanDa. Just keep these observers and these pylons all around the map to anticipate some of those drops coming on in. Stalkers ready to greet this Bioforce, but they are going to have to blink back. It's Stim finishing up in about 5 seconds. Blinks forward, snipes off a Viking. Custom Shell is going to force him to lose a Stalker there. And the Widowmine's going off, killing off 7 workers, but losing the medevac.
Yeah, medevac goes down. There is a Colossus here. He does not have range. But the Protoss has won one, making this a dangerous fight to take. And Koss's army getting force fielded, not fighting with the full brunt of it. And look at that, the Marauders are dead. And now that Colossus is able to fire freely upon the Marines, even without range. There's enough to buffer and Guardian Shield with that +1 armor. And now GunGFuBanDa is going to push the Terran player back.
Yep, 6 SCVs also going down. Not sure if those weren't pulled with the army, were they?
No, he sent some Zealots over to the
base. Gotcha.
So that we can see that Mule's very hurt.
Well, eventually gets that cleaned up, and GunGFuBanDa just getting into a really, really nice spot with +2 weapons on the way. He's got Storm on the way. He's got another Colossus coming on up. And even though it doesn't seem like a huge deal, the Viking count, just losing even a couple of those Vikings here and there to the Blink Stalkers did hurt Koss's ability to respond to those. So he's going to be playing catch-up on trying to deal with the Colossus, and while that's happening, Storm is going to be getting up. So the next engagement, Koss may be able to deal with the Colossus, and he may just die to the Storm instead.
Yeah, that's a really tough part because he has the Ghost Academy, but you're trying to balance the gas expenditure, right? You need to get your upgrades. The armory is very late. 2-2 is on the way for the Protoss. You want to get the Ghosts? Well, that's not cheap. Cloak? That's not cheap. Vikings? Very expensive, but you also need medevacs because you lost all of them doing the mine drops. And that's kind of where Terran runs into a bunch of difficulties because you're usually very limited by that starport. And now doubly so the Ghosts.
Yeah, if you're playing from behind, it is difficult. What GunGFuBanDa is doing is making it difficult for Koss to catch back up. Actually, also going to throw down a Dark Shrine and maybe put some harassment. There's already a couple of missile turrets up, though, which I do like from Koss, just kind of being a bit more prepared for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, always got to have a turret or two towards the front, at least for the observers. Of course, since the observers have that siege mode now, you don't really, like, the turrets aren't really enough anymore, but at least you can keep the entrance safe against DTs, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, the Stalker's just poised in the middle of the map. We got still even more pylons coming down in the corners to prevent any sort of drop play to allow Koss to come back in this game. I love how GunGFuBanDa is playing with just the information game. Always keeping an eye out on his opponent. Make sure he knows if there is going to be a big move out. And Scan comes down, I think picks off an observer.
He got the observer.
Well, warp
but look at that. I'm still really worried. 2-2 is done for the Protoss. This Bio Army is going to have a really hard time fighting, especially if there's a Guardian Shield. And look at that, just that snipe. Just grabs one of those Vikings, blinks back, loses nothing.
Yep.
And these storms are going to be a problem too.
Yeah, he's moving forward with one of these High Templars to try and get a preemptive early storm off, or maybe even a feedback or two.
SCV's
goes. Oh!
Big storm.
Yeah, the rest of the High Templars are moving awfully far forward. Okay, they are going to start to pull back. Another storm comes in for the top right-hand side. Oh my god, this army is so softened up at this point.
Yep, and don't forget, there's still Colossi here with the whole other rest of the ground army. Immortals coming in. Guardian Shield's going to get popped now. The Colossi do die. I wonder if he's going to try to land them.
Yeah, he's got to.
Will into the Immortals. They will get absolutely obliterated. GG, GunGFuBanDa takes game number 1.
Well done, GunGFuBanDa. Just getting that early lead. The snipe off on Stim and combat shields.
Combat shields is just insane.
And then just using that lead to secure a victory.
On that map, it's particularly difficult to deal with the blink play just because you have such a huge amount of space they can use to jump right up into that main base from where the third is. Honestly, in my games, I feel like it's much better to take the risk of taking your third earlier if you can, just because it moves the battle to somewhere your army would be rather than like you don't want to camp everything in your main base. It's hard to defend against that. Really good pickoff. It's one of the reasons why that blink stalker opening is so good.
Yeah, and I feel like that's, correct me if I'm wrong, that's also the reason why we see a lot of Terran players try to open up with siege tanks to deal with a lot of the blink stalker aggression and everything. Yeah. But when he opens up with Widow Mines in that game, it makes it a lot more difficult because sure, Widow Mines might be able to hit a stalker or two, but if you're blink microing well, it becomes really difficult to actually make those defenses work sometimes.
Yeah.
And also just, Koss was out of position. Like, Koss was chasing down the gateways in the middle of the map when the stalkers blinked
well, the
forward.
timing was perfect as well, because he's like, oh yeah, you can kill the gateway, that's fine. I know where your army is, I'm going to go in.
It's a little bit unlucky because I don't believe that GunGFuBanDa saw the army moving out. It was more just a, I'm poking forward, wait, my observer doesn't see anything in your main base. Oh, you're killing my gateway. Yeah, let's do this.
Well, he had recall available, right?
Yeah.
So there's really nothing ventured there. You're like, all right, I'm going to go in, kill this. If something goes wrong, recall out. If nothing goes wrong, just keep killing stuff, and that's what he did.
Absolutely. Well, we get ready to hop into game number 2. Remember, this is the winner's match. So if GunGFuBanDa can take one more map here, he does move on to the next group stage, which would be a really awesome result for him.
Yes, and that'd be pretty sick. Koss would not be eliminated though. He would go down to face off against Petit Drogo.
Yep, gets to play a lot of TVP today.
Yep.
All right, looks like GunGFuBanDa just asking for a minute. So as soon as he is ready, we will get on started. But yeah, how do you feel about how the mine stuff was working out in that game? Because obviously that was, again, as we discussed, Koss kind of playing from behind, off of losing stim and combat shields. But do you feel like the Widow Mine drops are getting picked off? Do you think that's more just a system?
I like mines in composition because zealots are so integral to a lot of these battles. Like, he dealt with the Colossi very well, right? He had enough Vikings for that. I feel like if you have mines spread out to cover like the flank paths when you adjust your position, like you kill the center nexus, you have like 4 or 5 mines laid out in front of your army, you've already killed the observers, then you move east towards the natural instead of down to the third. Yeah. Maybe that army tries to chase out and the mines, they can also do a great job of keeping those zoning Templar away because you have them all spread out. But it's like tough. In that situation, I don't see siege tanks doing anything. They would have started sieging when the fight started, and then they would never have finished sieging anyway. Yeah, that's very true. And he threw away like 7 or 8 mines and 2 medevacs on those drops that barely killed anything. Oh yeah, GunGFuBanDa again, like he was doing such a great job with just positioning his observers and his pylons and just getting constant scouting, keeping the stalkers rarely at home, leaving them out on the map. That was a really solid job. So many pickoffs, right? And it's all based on information. It's all information based. And granted, that is a little bit more difficult to do with your stalkers and to be that far out if the Terran player has stim finish up at a normal time. And if you overcommit with your stalkers, like you're losing some here and there because the Terran army stims and picks them off. But we'll see how things go. Map number 2 is going to be Kairos Junction. You were talking about the map, the last map being a bit better for that blink play. How do you feel about Kairos Junction? It's a solid blink map too. Okay. I mean, this is, you have like the one kind of like Reaper-ish cliff lip at the front of the main base. I think you can blink into the right side of the main from the low ground. And there's really no reason for Protoss not to open blink versus Terran, especially with the buff. Like, it's so cheap. Like, you get blink, and since the robo is cheaper, it's like going blink robo at the start of the game it's almost a no-brainer. That proxy build could work again if Koss doesn't like SCV scout, but otherwise, yeah, I think it's a no-brainer to do the same thing. All right, guys, we're going to be starting down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, top of the red Terran player. He is Koss from Team StarCom. And his opponent in the northwest, our blue Protoss player, leading the series 1-0 right now. He is GunGFuBanDa. Not to be confused with KungFuBanDa. No, he is not Jack Black. No, he's also not a master of karate. I guess he could be. He could be. We don't actually know. We don't know that. I'm sorry for spreading fake news. He could be a master of karate. I'm trying to figure out, because you know, sometimes you'll do the thing where you say, like, instead of battle bruiser, you say cattle bruiser. You swap the first letters of each one of the words. Yeah. How did you come up with GunGFuBanDa? Where does the G and the B come from? I don't know. I think you realized that you weren't going to get KungFuBanDa on Twitch or... But you could have come up with
PvT? Like if you swap the P and the
GunGFuBanDa, I guess.
GunGFuBanDa.
I don't know. Maybe he just likes those letters.
They're cool letters.
Yeah.
Probe doing some nice little harassment here is going to be sort of annoying, trying to delay the barracks for a little bit, but the barracks does finish up on time. Command Center comes down to the low ground. And
yeah, very different start though, right,
yeah.
to this game. It's going to be a Reaper expand out of Cass, and he doesn't have to worry. Well, he doesn't know that yet because he didn't scout, but he will not have to worry this game about that really fast second proxy gateway. And this is what I was talking about, by the way. If you're in this position, like right now, that Reaper would go across the map, and then the Zealot would pop out, kill the first SCV, then the Stalker comes out, and everything just turns into a nightmare. You almost have to cancel the command center. It's one of those like super tilting builds that is just really. I started playing against it more, and I've actually had a lot of difficulty against it because if they do get any damage done, the follow-up hits a lot faster if they chrono warp gate since the buff.
Oh, definitely. I was even just thinking about the low ground proxy gateways that sometimes Protoss players will go for to try and snipe off the SCV build in the command center. And usually you also rely on the probe getting one tick of damage done on the SCV build in that command center, but not going to happen. And of course, this Adept, because it wasn't proxied on the low ground, it's not going to be able to get there in time, I believe, to actually snipe off the SCV. Lets the Shade finish up, but there's a finished command center.
Yep. So there you go.
3 seconds.
That 3-second change was 4. And we do have some Hellions being cranked out, which I like. I believe the Adept saw that factory with the reactor on it. So generally speaking, the way to deal with this as a Protoss is you're going to get a pylon up front and maybe wall off a little bit, position your Stalkers to block. By the way, blink behind this, and that proxy starport.
Yeah, up in the top right-hand corner of the map. Oh my god, does he...
It's so common, though, to do the proxy starport where you drop the Hellions in.
The Reaper saw the probe for a second, but I don't think he noticed it. It was only for a split second. And the Reaper pops up into the main base, sees the full wall up on the high ground. That prevents the Reaper from doing anything. Stalker's on the low ground, actually going to be able to catch the Reaper here. This is a nice pickoff.
Yeah, that's a huge grab. And I mean, that probe was looking around, not going to see the Hellions.
Yeah.
Barely misses it. There's the starport. Now, these 4 Hellions can win the game right here. However, with how late Stim is going to be, I'm going to go back to the last game, Fear Dragon. This attack needs to do catastrophic damage, or I think GunGFuBanDa could actually just start chronoing out Stalkers off 3 gates and put on an insane amount of counter pressure. As I say that, a tank starts.
Do you think 2 Stalkers and an Adept is enough to clean up the Hellions before they do damage?
Absolutely not. This mostly comes down to how well he splits the probes while he brings the rest of the units over. And so far, it looks really good. He's only gotten 4 probes. He does take 3 Hellion volleys to kill a probe.
A lot more sentry.
2 Hellions. Oh, this could be big.
Whoop.
There. Okay, now this is getting into the really nice damage toward territory. I think 8 is like your minimum to be happy with doing this. Because you got to keep in mind, with the way the Protoss build went, he went Nexus before Cybernetics scored. And this is one of the things that people talk about a lot in this matchup, is the Protoss player ends up with way more workers because of Chrono Boost than the Terran. And even though he killed 9 workers, the Protoss is still ahead 4 of them. So income-wise, it's not like you've done some sick damage that puts you with a crazy lead. He's just barely ahead with the mules now, minding those minimums.
This is also going to be tough for Koss because not only is there a blink up in the main base, nice use of the Adept Shade.
Goodbye.
Oh my god, not again. This has got to be tilting for Koss.
Oh yeah, well you're tilted off the edge of the earth because he has those 2 barracks, so he has to pull all the SCVs.
Oh, and now the tank unsieges. If GunGFuBanDa actually catches wind of this, he could potentially just jump on the tank.
Yeah, the other tank.
Well, second tank pops out.
I mean, I don't even think it's bad to trade out here if you can against everything.
Yeah.
Because what you're killing right now is worth so much more than what you're losing in terms of the Stalker count. Probes did die behind this. The proxy Liberator, I think, just died. But got a good few probes. Look at that income now. That's a very steep dive Koss has taken off the board.
Yep.
Down to just 800-ish minerals a minute. Now kind of going back up as he rebuilds the workers.
A couple of Stalkers do manage to make their way out of there. 4 Stalkers joining up with another 3 that make their way across the map. He's going to be able to continue to try and poke and prod with the Observer, providing that high ground vision, and only the Siege Tanks are the natural. Nothing in the main base, although the Siege Tanks getting chased, and the Stalkers really suffer some losses.
Would have liked to see him just go down and look for the tech lab. Gets that tank there. And I think with just these
Oh my God.
Marines, get that tech lab again.
Well,
Deny stim and this game is
siege tank?
over.
Yeah.
You deny stim again here with your third base going up as toss.
The siege tank sieges up. This makes it a lot more difficult for you to feel comfortable going for that now, though.
This is exactly the kind of spread you don't want to do, though, because like if this was my ladder game, all the stalkers would just blink into the natural, kill the one tank, and then the game is over, and I'm just super salty. But I mean, GunGFuBanDa's played this perfectly. He got stim snipes in both games. This is why it's really frustrating. The observer gets across the map faster with the buff, so it's easier for it to get over there and then give that vision. And then GunGFuBanDa has eyes on everything. And the moment that that tank moves, because that's a reactor in the wall off of the main base, the observer doesn't need to see where the reactor is. He'll always know that tank has to come into vision range to go down the ramp.
Okay, medevac. Gonna actually, well, I guess
It's a good
scan.
grab.
Yeah, that's a really important grab. Now these stalkers actually cannot do that same level of harassment. There's no additional observers out on the map either. So we'll see if these two Widow Mines can get some damage done.
Surprised they didn't immediately move the stalkers to the side. When they kill the observer, it's usually because they want to move out.
Yeah, it's usually also pretty difficult to get a whole lot more done to the stalkers. You're usually just there to see if there's a big move out or something. But the Widow Mines move forward in the medevac. You're going to find a lot of probes not really doing anything at this point.
Now that's huge. The probes are not reacting at all. 8 workers picked off, and suddenly GunGFuBanDa only has a 3-worker lead now, which he'll be able to replenish, but the money going there instead of into gateways and more upgrades and ground units definitely helps cost a lot, as he's got that 3rd command center done and he's moving it out now. So hopefully he can pull everything back over, and that gives him time to secure this next base, as he is going into Widow Mines behind this.
Yeah, and I love that Cost is using this medevac. Of course, when it doesn't get caught in the middle of the map, it's a lot nicer because you also pull the stalkers back home. Sure, the drops may not actually get that much more damage done, only 2 workers killed and he loses the Widow Mines, but all of the stalkers return back home. That's what allows him to easily secure that 3rd and go for this push out without having to worry about these stalkers continuing to be annoying.
Yep, and here we go, big push from Cass. He's got a couple tanks. We got Widow Mines to help reinforce this point. I really like the mine combo with the tanks. Makes it very hard to dive on. Marauder finds the counterattack pylon, and suddenly Koss, finally with his stim, is able to get some serious work done. He's focusing down that Nexus. All of the shields are gone, starting to lean into the hit points of it. Guardian shields popped, and GunGFuBanDa is going to attempt to defend this base. Mines are going to blow up on top of the Zealots, protecting the siege tanks, but there might just be too much Protoss for him to pull this position outside the 3rd.
Oh man, the +1 armor allowing those Zealots to survive quite a few hits, and coming in with the flank of the Zealots. Those are actually from the proxy pylon that pulled their way all the way back home and cleans up that last siege and keeps his 3rd base alive. And while Koss sure does have his own 3rd base, he just lost all the siege tanks he had made, but he also lost all the Widow Mines that he's been making this whole game.
Yep, it really hurts, man. I mean, not every Protoss player does the Colossus with their strategy. There's still a lot of people who go Mass Gateway. Widow Mines are much better versus Mass Gateway naturally because the Colossus grossly outranges them. And usually when you're going heavy robo, you get a 2nd one, which makes it much easier to replace those observers while rebuilding your army units.
It is also funny. I feel like usually when we see a Colossus player, they aren't going for the armor upgrades, they're going for the weapon upgrades first. But GunGFuBanDa going for the survivability of these Zealots, and man, is it paying off over here. As +2 armor about to finish up as well.
Zealots are hefty chunks in this game. Guardian shields popped again with that +2 armor.
Oh, boy.
So hard to deal any damage to this Protoss army, and it looks like GunGFuBanDa might be making it out of this group in 1st place. I'm not sure how Koss is going to stop him.
He just doesn't have units, man.
Is close, but a lot of it is just when you play Terran, that supply counter doesn't always tell the story because most of it is tied up in the production for Vikings, 6 Marauders, 6 Marines. They're not on the field. There's really not much here to fight against this at all. That barracks wall kind of making it awkward to move through is maybe the best advantage that he has right now.
Yeah, but now that that is finally kind of starting to get pushed back, these units are starting to push back some of the Protoss forces, but a blink back. The SCVs are forced off the line. He has to lift up his 3rd base. There's a 4th base that's now finished up there for GunGFuBanDa that he's going to be saturating.
He's getting the Dank Shrine, and he's getting Disruptors, and he's getting +3 armor, and he's getting +2 attack. So all of the upgrades for GunGFuBanDa are starting to roll in. Templar Archives as well. And if we look at the production of Koss, it's still just Vikings. He's not ready to make the transition and keep the medevac count up to survive against Storm. And he's also not going to be able to afford to build enough ghosts to make an impact. There was a ghost on the field earlier. Yes, he still just has one. Not quite enough to deal with a whole Protoss army, though.
Yeah, it's a really tough spot. And that medevac count, you know what? I would say it's a whopping 0 right now, Nate. And that is because he's lost so many of those medevacs to the drop harassment earlier. A Zealot even finds a 4th base being built. He's going to be able to snipe that off. Although the SCV managing to somehow be a complete ninja as it constructs this command center. But here we go. Koss needs this victory because if he waits any longer, the disruptor count's going to build up. His storm's going to be done. That is nice. 3 Colossus still around. The Colossus should get sniped off pretty quickly by this many Vikings, but Koss just pulling back.
I mean, if he attacks when +3 armor finishes, I think he just Lawler skates all over this. DTs are spread out in all the bases now.
Yep.
But yeah, +3 armor versus just +1 attack for Terran is perhaps one of the funniest things you'll ever see in this game. When Protoss is ahead on armor upgrades versus Terran,
Zealots just don't die.
It just turns into a joke. Yeah, the Zealots literally don't die.
Dark Templar actually getting outside the vision range of that missile turret, and at the same time, the rest of the army moves forward because he knows that there's a lot of bio in that natural. There's nothing at the 3rd anymore.
Yep, hallucinates another Colossus to try and like tank, I guess. He adds that in, moves it to the front.
Does soak up some hits, and he kills off the rest of the Vikings. So
Disruptor chews up the entire bottom half of the army.
2 Colossus surviving with +2 weapons is actually more than enough.
And then +3 Zealots versus +1 Marines.
Yep, these Zealots actually literally won't die. GG, GunGFuBanDa with another 2-0. The day of 2 zeros.
Indeed it is. GunGFuBanDa played really well today.
Yeah.
Gets out in 1st place. Nice. Nice. Not what I expected at all. Really, really good play out of him. And
yeah, it turns out sniping stim, really good thing.
It's the tenacity, though.
Yeah.
When we talk about weaknesses of a lot of, the lesser known foreign players, and you say, well, passiveness in builds, not taking advantage of opportunities. GunGFuBanDa played a very assertive StarCraft today, and it really showed in the pressure he got against Nurchio, where Nurchio was really kind of like, yeah, not really sure what he's doing. He's like, I've got a Depths here, Oracle there, Phoenix there, Warp Prism here, Mothership there. And then now versus Koss, he's like, well, I'm going to open Blink, and if I can Blink into your main and snipe add-on stem, I'm going to do it. I'm going to take that risk because I know the value of what I get out of it, if it pays off, is so much more than I could lose otherwise. So really great. Just want to give big credit to GunGFuBanDa for playing an exciting set of games today. Very little on the passive end, and just really nailing all of his strategies very well.
Really, really fun series from GunGFuBanDa, and of course he is going to be rewarded for his awesome games. But moving on to the next group stage. As mentioned before, Koss is not going to be knocked out of the tournament just yet. He's going to have to play for his final life here to see if he can defeat Petit Drogo.
One more opportunity.
1 life left. Let's see if he can make the most of it. In another Protoss versus Terran, we'll be back in just a little bit.